Okay, so now that we've looked at the pinning and the keying group, we're going to go ahead and continue and start looking at the auxiliary effectors. So an auxiliary effector is specific to HIK. It's one of those great new concepts that we don't have as a rigging tool for our custom rigs. So it's specific to HIK. There are two types, right? There's auxiliary effectors and the pivot effectors. In this lesson, I'm going to be looking at the auxiliary effectors. Next lesson will be the pivot. So I'm just going to go ahead and create one here. And we see right away that the UI changes. I got a little plus, which will be the way to select my new auxiliary effectors. And Maya's gone ahead and create a kind of a pink box. Right? If I go to my attribute editor, you'll see that I can change the look to a square, circle, right? So you have a couple of options. You have the same options as any other effectors, so the pinning, the reach translation, reach rotation, so on and so forth. To change its position, I click on the D and I move it up. You can also press the insert key and just move the pivot, right? So if we have a quick look at this, we'll see that it behaves just as any other effector. I'm just going to hide the FK rig here so we only see the IK and the skeleton. Right? If I am in full body, we'll see that it behaves just as the wrist effector, meaning that the skeleton will move and solve as best that it can. And if I'm in body part, it will again just rotate the body area. The big difference is the keyframe that it sets. If I am in full body and I move this and I press S, you see right away that the animation curves were only on the wrist effector, auxiliary wrist effector. So even in full body mode, I don't have a keyframe on everything, which right away gives us the idea this is great for tweaking. It's not necessarily something that you'll want to use at the beginning of an animation. If I'm in body part and I click S, I get the same thing. So unlike the regular effector, this one only set key as in selection mode. So it doesn't set key on what it's moved, it only sets keys on basically itself. So the best way to use this is as a tweak mode, right? So if I have a great animation that I love, I'll go ahead and press a keyframe here and a keyframe there, right? And I'll make sure that the reach, the reach is on 1, so basically it's on IK. And we see that my solve, right, so the result kind of is in between the two effectors. So Maya really takes in these two positions and kind of gives you the result in between them. So if I take off the reach translation and rotation on my auxiliary, then I will be following my regular effector 100%. So in a way, we want to use this when we start tweaking, right? If at frame 6, I want to be completely on this effector, then I will set it to 1 and start setting keyframes. And I'll go to 0 here. So at frame 5, it's following my auxiliary effector 100%. So you got to remember with this auxiliary effector that the result of the solve is in between the two. So it's a measure of the two, and it's calculated between the reach translation and reach rotation. Another thing that we need to know with these auxiliary effectors is that when you go back to stance pose, it doesn't go back to its regular pose. Right? So the stance pose doesn't take into consideration this auxiliary effector, unlike what we're going to see in the next lesson, which is the pivot effectors. Okay, so let's go ahead and start looking at the pivot effectors.